A former gang member named Dominic Morrow, who was shot twice and considered medically dead for over 3 minutes in 2009, tells his powerful story of having experienced hell while he was unconscious.
I was medically dead for 3 minutes and 47 seconds.
What he saw is something people need to hear.
I joined the gang at a very young age, between the age of 12 and 13. I had a rough life. Chicago was a hard place to grow up. Unfortunately, I took that route. Years have passed and I pretty much mastered the craft, so to speak, of the streets. Give my life to, I consider them like a family to me. And come to find out, they stabbed me in the back and set me up to get me killed. Hey, wait a minute, something is not right. And I had a weird feeling in my gut about this guy. All of a sudden, I looked up and the guy looked at me with a smirk. He just kind of like evil grin, like, I got you. It was just like it was so evil, but I just remember everything moving in slow motion and I fell back. This kind of darkness is not a darkness that's here on earth. This darkness is alive. So as I'm falling, I knew this was hell. And then I heard the screams of the people. And the first thing I noticed were these demons, things. They're the most grotesque, smelliest, Hollywood can't even get close to how these things look.
Dominic says that as he descended into hell, he fell into what was an immense abyss.
But the weirdest part was when I fell backwards, I started instantly falling forward. I was falling down face forward as I fell backwards. That was the weirdest part. That's the spiritual aspect of it. But as I'm falling, I don't even know how to measure it. They say the speed of light is 186,000 miles per second. That was faster than that.
As he fell, he felt himself being stripped of everything that is good, everything that people take for granted, such as hope, love, etc., since it all comes from God. James 1:17, every good gift and every perfect gift is from above, coming down from the Father of lights, with whom there is no variation or shadow due to change. Dominic was stripped of all of it.
But the further I'm going down, just falling and falling, the more and more I felt like I was getting stripped of everything. I knew I was getting stripped of the things that God gave me that I took for granted, like hope, love, fellowship, patience, everything. The further I was falling down fast, everything was getting stripped from me, and I was getting more and more afraid. But this is a different type of fear.
He talks about the stench of hell, which is so bad that he cannot fully describe it.
But as I'm falling, I'm feeling more and more frightening. I started hearing, the first thing I noticed was laughter around me. As I'm falling, it was like this laughter, and it was like these giggling little but the laugh itself, they were laughing, I felt it. It was a different type of laugh. It was a demonic hatred. Like I just knew whatever was laughing at me hated me more than like with anything you can even describe. But as I'm falling, I hear this laughter. The second thing that caught my attention was this horrible smell. But I smelled this smell, and the smell, I can even just talking about it right now. So I'm sorry if I pause a little bit because a lot of this comes back to me and I still get a little emotional. But the smell alone is so bad, like I can't even describe it. There's nothing you can have 1,000 corpses and dead animals and whatever you want to put into the mush. It smells like Febreze compared to what I smell.
This corresponds to others who have had experiences of hell. St. Bede the Venerable, a Benedictine monk who lived in the 8th century, wrote about the experience of Drythium, a man who saw hell during a near-death experience around the year 696. Drythium eventually became a monk, but he described hell as having, quote, a stench foul beyond compare, end quote.
So as I'm falling, then I noticed a little light, and it was so small, it was a pinpoint of light. And I heard, and as I'm falling, it's getting bigger and bigger. And then that's when it hit me. I knew, and I thought it was a fairy tale. I'm not gonna lie, I just thought hell was a fairy tale. I thought it was a place of fantasy. I thought it was a scare tactic used by religions. I knew, I said, I'm going to hell. See, time doesn't exist over in eternity the way it exists here. So all the time that I'm falling, people say, how would you have time? Time doesn't exist the way you can't even fathom it. Eternity, it has no time. So as I'm falling, I knew this was hell. And then I heard the screams of the people. The screams and the yells of while as I'm falling, and this portal, may I call it the portal, was getting bigger. You can just hear, and I knew it had to be billions. Hundreds of millions of billions of people down there. I mean, screaming, and then their screams are gut-wrenching. The same way I heard those demonic laughs, I can feel it in my gut and feel it in my soul. Those screams were worse because it was suffering. It was blasphemous things being yelled. It was just horrible, pain, everything. It gripped, it's your whole body. But when I felt this heat, it's a different fabric. It's a different fabric of heat. It's not like how you burn your finger here. It's a spiritual component to it because it's beyond. It's beyond. I mean, just say if I wanted to put it on a temperature scale, I would say 12,000. But as I'm falling and I enter this portal and I feel the heat, I'm hearing the yells. It's like it's so overwhelming. And at this time, by the time I got to the bottom, I just knew I was in hell and I knew I was going to hell. But once I passed the portal, all I remember is when I hit the bottom. I didn't feel anything when I first hit. It felt like I had no strength. I felt like I hadn't eaten for like months. I couldn't breathe. It was horrible. Just a feeling of just nothing. And then, but the only thing that kept coming to my mind was, and I know the Lord did this purposely, was thinking that everything that I took for granted, movement, a drink of water, just to have the ability to move my arms, just freely, the ability to breathe, all the things that we take for granted, it was going through my mind. I knew it came from God. I just, and I knew I took it for granted.
Acts 17:24-25. The God who made the world and everything in it, he himself gives to all mankind life and breath and everything.
And there, first thing is I look over. See, it was dark, but I'm trying to, wonder if the Lord was making me be able to see. But the flames itself were emitting so high from these pews, like these vents from the rocks.
His statement that flames burst high in hell corresponds to various visions of hell. For instance, Drythium, who saw hell, stated, quote, "As those same billows of fire without pause at one time flew up, and at another time fell back into the bottom of the abyss, I saw that the summits of all the flames as they ascended were full of the spirits of men. Like sparks flying upward with the smoke, they were sometimes thrown up high, and again when the vapors of the fire fell, they dropped down into the depths below," end quote. The Fatima children were shown a vision of hell by the Blessed Virgin Mary on July 13, 1917, which was followed up by the famous Miracle of Fatima on October 13, 1917. In their vision of hell, they saw, quote, "flames that issued from within themselves, together with great clouds of smoke, now falling back on every side, like sparks in huge fires," end quote.
So as I'm looking around and I'm just already, what I see when the flames, they come up, and then you can see the illumination from the flames, you can see. And the first thing I noticed were these demons, things. They're the most grotesque, smelliest. Hollywood can't even get close to how these things look. They're so deformed. They had legs and twisted arms, but they had a reptilian look, a reptile look to them. And their eyes were glowing yellow. Some of them eyes were red. Some of them were like 13 feet tall. Some of them were this big. They're everywhere. And it's just bugs, there's spiders, there's just everything. But what really caught my attention was these pits everywhere. And this one demon glanced at me and he started laughing. Down in the pits were just people. Okay. Just people. But then I thought it was just one pit. As you really look around and the flames illuminate all of the space around, there's, I would say, hundreds of thousands of pits. And then within each pit are thousands of people. Okay. And then around the pits, you have nothing but these grotesque demon reptilian or reptile-like things, making sure they don't crawl out. It was horrible. Hell is no relief. There's nothing.
Isaiah 66:24. Their worm will not die, and their fire will not be extinguished.
As I'm looking at this one demon, he was about 8 feet tall. He looked at me and laughed. And then all I remember was these thousands of maggots, worms, and they're like thick. They're thick. They're thick as soda cans. Okay, they're not like regular maggots here in this dimension. They are thick and they're big, and they started to chew at my feet. And then once it was a few of them, when I looked down, there was hundreds of them. They started to make a mound around me, up to my knees.
St. John Bosco, who had a vision of hell, describes something similar. Quote, "I drew closer to them and noticed that they were all covered with worms and vermin, which gnawed at their vitals, hearts, eyes, hands, legs, and entire bodies, so ferociously as to defy description," end quote.
But that was the least of my worries, because I felt getting a hand picked me up from the back of my head, and it flung me. It flew. Now, as I flew, okay. Now remember, you have no energy. There's no nothing. Even just when I laid down, I couldn't get back up. But now I'm realizing, in hindsight that the Lord was with me, because a lot of these demons, they wanted to attack me. They wanted to rip me apart. And I could just feel the hatred that they have for mankind, the hatred that they have for us. It is beyond anything. It is beyond, and you can feel it's ancient, and you can feel it is powerful. It is power in their hate. It is so powerful.
Revelation chapter 12 speaks of the ancient war between St. Michael and the fallen angels, which resulted in those fallen angels, that is the demons, being cast out of heaven. In John 8:44, the Lord Jesus Christ refers to Satan as a murderer from the beginning. Satan was an ancient murderer. 1 John 3:15 connects hatred with murder. Thus, the demons have an ancient hatred for God and mankind.
I always try to describe people that the hate that these demonic things, that these demonic beings have for us, it is so powerful. Just the hate alone. If that's how I know there's something holding it back. Even here on earth, when they harass us and terrorize us, there's got to be some kind of shield holding back that hatred, because just the vibration from the hate alone is so powerful. It is ancient, it's powerful, it is dark, it is gripping. They hate us.
And that's when I think the Lord showed me it was the whole hell of this section, because hell has sections. I'm going to explain that soon. It has many sections. It was illuminated for me where I can just see everything. And when I tell you the tortures, wow, I mean, it is beyond the stretch of your imagination.
His statement that hell has sections corresponds to St. John Bosco's vision, in which he saw, quote, instantly 1,000 inner portals opened with a deafening clamor, end quote.
One thing that I noticed when you're in hell and when you're eternally in a spirit body, you can look at a person inside hell and you know why they're there. You instantaneously know, you know why that person is there. I've seen people there for unforgiveness. I've seen people there who thought they were the best in the church, saying, why did you do this to me? I've seen pastors there. I've seen even some preteens in hell. I've seen a lot of people who think they're doing the right thing, but they're no. Like, for example, the first lady who I saw getting tortured, and I already knew why she was there. She was there because not only was she a gossiper, she was gossiping about people. She got many people life turned because of her tongue, and she was an alcoholic.
Concerning gossips and slanderers, Exodus 23:1 states, "You shall not spread a false report. You shall not join hands with a wicked man to be a malicious witness." James 1:26, "If anyone considers himself religious and yet does not bridle his tongue, he deceives his heart, and his religion is worthless." Concerning drunkards and others who die in the state of mortal sin, 1 Corinthians 6 says, quote, "Or do you not know that the unrighteous will not inherit the kingdom of God? Do not be deceived. Neither fornicators, nor idolaters, nor adulterers, nor men who practice homosexuality, nor thieves, nor the greedy, nor drunkards, nor revilers, nor swindlers will enter the kingdom of God." End quote. This is divine revelation. Dominic also describes seeing the fornicators, and those who look at pornography, those who masturbate, commit adultery, and other sexual sins, flowing through the lake of fire in hell.
And I'm starting to, there was a theme in hell I started to notice, because people commit a lot of sins on a wide spectrum. But the one that sticks out the most is the one that's going to rectify, that you're going to get inside hell. So they say, a person who is promiscuous, and that's another one. I'm going to keep it not explicit, but I saw a young lady in hell. All I can say is that she was very promiscuous when she was here on this earth, and they were torturing her in ways that you can't even imagine. The biggest sins that you have, because like I said, everybody sins on different spectrums and think it's nothing. No, everything counts. Everything counts. And it's not God, our Father, up there taking a list of you. It also says in the Bible that the flesh will testify against itself. So people, that is real. Your flesh testifies against you. Your flesh, you desires. That's why he always tells us to get away from pleasing our own flesh, because we're going to put ourselves there. The Lord cries, the Lord heart aches for us, every one of us that go to hell. He does not want that. He does not want that for us at all. It really tears him apart to see us in that predicament. And also, I noticed some of them been there for thousands of years. See, that's the thing. People don't understand. Time doesn't exist in eternity. It doesn't. The clock stops. And I realized that. I saw people there who were there 2,000 years, 4,000, and you just know the ancientness of it. I saw all different languages. It doesn't discriminate. The devil doesn't discriminate at all. The whole end point is to get you there. That's it.